Well, mood swings. We have, all of us, I think, have been on a roller coaster ride, right, for the last 2 years. But today's topic is specifically focused on women over 40. When we women get through this phase of perimenopause, menopause, and beyond, there is mood swings that come with it. How do you use food as medicine or other tricks? That's what Barbie, who's a registered dietitian focusing on metabolic health and brain health, is going to talk to us about. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Should I just go ahead and get started?
Yes, please go ahead.
All right. Well, welcome everyone who is here. I'm excited to be talking to you today. This is such an important topic because navigating life over 40 in a female body can be a bit of a challenge. I am among you if you kind of suddenly don't recognize the body that you're living in or the mind that you have. It can be changed so dramatically, relatively quickly. So these are just some nutrition strategies that might help you kind of even some of that out, balance some of that out. As always, I want to remind everyone about what I call the 4 pillars of optimal health, because it's not just about nutrition. It's also about moving your body daily. It's about managing your stress, and it's about getting really excellent sleep. It's really hard to improve your mental and emotional well-being if you're only focusing on nutrition. Those other factors matter as well. But today we are just focusing on nutrition. So there are a couple of tenets for nutrition targeting mood. And one is keeping your blood sugar nice and stable. And we'll talk about how to do that. And then the other is taking in nutrients that reduce inflammation and get the happy hormones flowing. Because inflammation, it's really important to target inflammation for lots of reasons, particularly over 40. But because inflammation can be disruptive to your mood in a couple of ways. First and foremost, it can be depressive to the happy hormones. We want to keep those nice and flowing. And secondly, when you don't feel great, you're not in a good mood. And inflammation in our bodies can make us not feel so great. And keeping blood sugar stable is also really important, not just for mood and energy, but also because when we are once we get to 40, 45, when we enter perimenopause, when those hormones start shifting, we are at an increased risk of insulin resistance. So making sure we are doing what we can to stabilize our blood sugar is important. Did you have a question?
No. Please go ahead.
Okay. I thought I heard you. Okay, so some strategies for keeping your blood sugar stable. I am a big fan of breakfast. I know that a lot of people are into intermittent fasting these days, and that's fine. If that's working for you, keep doing it by all means. I don't think it's for everyone, but if it's working for you, go for it. But I really love to shift that window to include breakfast and have a lighter, earlier dinner. I believe just my personal experience, my clients' experience, and then also research indicates that including breakfast sets you up better for the day in terms of blood sugar balance, mood stability, and getting in nutrients that you might be missing out on later in the day. So first thing for keeping blood sugar nice and balanced is actually eating breakfast. Secondly, eat carbs. I know that, one of our first go-tos for that kind of menopausal belly that a lot of us start getting is to eliminate carbs, because that's kind of what we hear, but that's not a good long-term strategy. It may work in the very short term for reducing belly fat, but it is not a good long-term strategy for keeping it off and for reducing our risk of insulin resistance. We want to eat carbs for energy, for brain nutrients. Our brain runs almost exclusively on carbohydrates. So for cognition, it's really important. It's really important for gut health. The gut is intricately and inextricably linked to the brain. And so it's really important for mental health and emotional health and cognitive health that we are getting enough carbohydrate. But we just want to be sure that we are getting the kinds of carbohydrates that really fuel us really, really well. Potato chips are delicious, but they're not really nutrient dense. We're talking about fiber-filled whole grains, beans, nuts, seeds, veggies, particularly leafy greens, colorful vegetables, fruits. That kind of carbohydrate is what we want to be getting a lot of. We can only get fiber and phytonutrients, which are compounds in plants that are really beneficial for health and reducing inflammation. We can only get fiber and phytonutrients from plants. We can't get them from animal foods, and we can't get them from oils and animal fats. They can only come from plants. So we don't want to reduce our plant foods. So getting enough fiber, again, this is still on keeping blood sugar nice and stable. Having a balance at every meal and snack of carbs, protein, and fat. If we're eating naked carbs, as I call them, we might experience a blood sugar spike and then a dip. That's not good for our mood. That's not good for our energy. So combining your carbohydrate with some protein and fat is going to keep you fuller longer and also help keep your blood sugar balanced and your mood more stable. If you do eat naked carbs, and we all do on occasion, love an ice cream cone or some chips, take a walk afterwards, maybe 15, 20 minutes. It helps bring your blood sugar back down where it should be. Eating every 3 to 4 hours helps keep your blood sugar stable. And there is also a method called food sequencing, which is not necessary to do all the time, but it may be helpful, particularly if you are somebody who kind of struggles with the peaks and valleys of blood sugar. And what food sequencing is to, let's say you have a plate with chicken and broccoli and quinoa, making that up, but protein, veggies, and then a starch. Eat your veggies, then your protein, then your starch. The veggies and protein will buffer the glucose spike and insulin response. So it will help keep your overall blood sugar more stable after the meal. So that's just a little trick. And then so that's blood sugar. And then in terms of getting nutrients in that help reduce inflammation and promote happy hormones, I don't like to be really reductive and focus specifically on, specific nutrients. That's kind of what the $70 billion supplement industry wants us to do, so that we'll buy all those supplements. Instead, focusing on whole foods, because the truth is, while we have identified some, really important nutrients that we believe we know what they do in terms of human health, there is a symphony that happens in whole foods that we don't really completely understand yet. This is why, eating oranges has been shown to be more beneficial than taking a vitamin C supplement, or eating foods high in vitamin D like salmon is more beneficial than taking a vitamin D supplement. So we don't want to get too we don't want to micromanage our nutrients. We want to eat nice whole foods that contain these nutrients that we are aware of, and then probably stuff that we don't know about that is really beneficial. So particularly, again, plant foods, berries, especially wild blueberries, really excellent for brain health. They help promote a chemical called BDNF, brain-derived neurotropic factor, which is like miracle grow for your brain. So wild blueberries, any blueberries really, but wild blueberries in particular, also all berries. Leafy greens, cruciferous vegetables, which is the family of vegetables that includes broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, kale, the kind of stinkier vegetables, it's that sulfuric quality that is actually really beneficial for your health. Avocados, olive oil, just really, in fact, I just did a reel today on Instagram about olive oil. Check it out if you are interested. And beans, fatty fish, so salmon, tuna, halibut, really excellent for improving your mood because of the omega-3s. Omega-3 has been very well researched in terms of depression, and it definitely helps lower your risk of depression, and then also help to alleviate the symptoms of depression. Nuts, just a quarter cup of almonds contains half the vitamin E that you need for an entire day. That's really good for your brain health, which is going to be good for your mental health. Dark chocolate contains several compounds that are good for mental and emotional well-being. You just want to go with 70% or greater cacao. And, just those big bars that you go to the grocery store, just be looking for something that is 70% or higher in cacao. And some people, finally, when it comes to nutrition, some people are not going to love this. Some people are going to stop listening right now, but alcohol. honestly, when it comes to, if you are someone who struggles with mood swings and hot flashes after, once you enter menopause or perimenopause and then finally menopause, drinking alcohol is really not a great idea. It is not beneficial in any way. We now know that it doesn't have any heart health benefits. And it can be enjoyable, but it is a depressant and it is a neurotoxin. So eliminating alcohol, if you are struggling, might be a good idea, even if it's only temporary. And if you decide not to eliminate it entirely, keeping it to under 2 alcoholic beverages a week is what the current guidelines are. And then in terms of, so that's blood sugar stability, specific foods. And then in terms of overall pattern for mental and emotional well-being, mood swings, the Mediterranean pattern of eating has been very well researched in terms of its effect, its positive effect, not only on physical health, but mental and emotional well-being as well. In fact, I have a couple books to recommend at the end that if you are interested in this topic, are just really fantastic books. But checking out the Mediterranean approach to eating, which again, I love because it's not about counting calories or macronutrients. It is about including what we know to be the world's healthiest foods. And then in addition to kind of taking a Mediterranean approach, I like what I call the 5-part plate. So rather than thinking like, okay, so many grams of carbohydrates, so many grams of protein, so many grams of fat. I encourage my clients to think of their plate every time they put a plate together in 5 parts: leafy greens, color. So the color can come from fruit, the color can come from veggies, protein, high quality protein, like a fatty fish or lean chicken or beans or tofu, lentils, more fiber. So that's 4. So that could be quinoa, brown rice, whole grain pasta, more veggies. And then finally, number 5, anti-inflammatory fats. So olive oil and avocado oil being at the top of the list in terms of being well researched for reducing inflammation. So 5-part plate: leafy greens, color, protein, more fiber, and anti-inflammatory fats. And if you've got a plate that contains all of that, you are definitely going to be doing something good for your body and your mind. And I do want to recommend 3 books. Do you have any questions for me as I go through this?
I was just going to say, you talked about the breakfast, putting a lot of emphasis on the breakfast, right? And what I'm saying is, can you recommend a couple of ideas, like protein, you said is very important. What can you do? Like a simple avocado toast or tofu scramble? Or what do you suggest?
Yeah, so thank you for bringing me back to that, because I actually do want to make another point about it. In terms of blood sugar stability and getting in a lot of really good nutrients, starting your day with a savory breakfast is a really good idea. It doesn't have to be all the time. I mean, pancakes can be on the menu too, or waffles, whatever. But starting the day savory most of the time is really going to do good things for your blood sugar stability. So like you say, a tofu scramble, maybe with some avocado and salsa for that, the colorful veggies in a whole grain wrap. That would be an excellent breakfast. Or you could do the, eggs or egg whites instead of the tofu, if you're not a fan of tofu. Beans, hummus could also take place for protein. So anything where, again, you're getting the fiber-filled carbohydrate, protein, and anti-inflammatory fat. But that is an omelet with lots of colorful veggies and a piece of whole grain toast, or a whole grain wrap is one of my very favorite breakfasts. So if you just kind of riff off of that, I also have a recipe that I just put on Instagram a couple of days ago for a banana oat protein cake. So all it is bananas, oat flour, and flaxseed. So it doesn't have any added sugar. There is banana, but I mean, we don't worry about fruit. Anybody who tells you that banana and a cookie are the same thing, they shouldn't be talking to you about nutrition. So all it has is bananas, oat flour, and flax. That is really high in protein, really high in fiber, and no added sugar. So that would be another choice. You could put some nut butter on that, or some avocado on that, or sprinkle some more nuts or seeds. And yeah, so that, I mean, and if you check out my Instagram, I am constantly doing what I call good mood food. I do reels of that and give you recipes for, I've done a lot of breakfasts lately, actually, and I have some more to do in the coming weeks.
Okay, well, yes, no, thank you so much. I just wanted to give some examples. Well, please continue, wrap up, whatever you think. This is just a quick 10-15 minute session we bring on a daily basis.
Yeah, so I wanna recommend 3 books, just in case you are interested in diving a little bit deeper. These are my 3 favorite books on the topic of nutrition and mood, or mental health. And 2 of them are written by nutritional psychiatrists, which is a really interesting field in terms of nutrition and nutritional psychiatry. So Eat to Beat Depression and Anxiety by Dr. Drew Ramsey. And then Your Brain on Food by Dr. Uma Naidoo, Naidoo. And then Brain Food by Lisa Moscone. All 3 are really excellent and give sort of different pieces of information that kind of all come to the same conclusions about which foods are beneficial and how to get them in. But get those leafy greens every day and get a rainbow throughout the week. And listen, there's not, you know, when it comes to breakfast, don't just be thinking in terms of breakfast foods. I eat a salad with a source of protein like chicken or beans or tofu a lot of the time for breakfast. And that's an excellent breakfast. We don't need to stick just to what we think are breakfast foods.
All right, well, thank you so much. Amazing information, concise, but to the point, and actionable things that we can start doing starting today, like starting with our lunch and dinner that you talked about, putting leafy greens. Most of us forget about it, you know, in the sense like we don't have it in the refrigerator and we say, oh, we forget about it. But if you make a conscious effort to include what you talked about, the colors, and interestingly, I just want to add, Ayurveda talks about different rainbow colors as well, including it in your diet on a daily basis, right? And also including different taste, because and that helps our digestive tract, right? And if our digestive tract is good, as you talked about, gut, you know, like a roller coaster ride here.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, just thinking into, you triggered me to remember one more thing. In addition to anti-inflammatory fats, there are some anti-inflammatory spices that are really great to add to whenever you can. I don't personally recommend taking them as a supplement. A lot of people do. I don't recommend that. I recommend including them in your meals as often as you can. And that would be turmeric, cinnamon, ginger, garlic, and saffron. All of those have been really well researched for reducing inflammation and having particular benefits to both metabolic health and brain health.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I believe myself in whole foods, not taking supplements, you know, getting whole foods from the plant-based is what is real food. And we should focus on that. And this morning I was looking at some NBC, is that there's a plant burger that made right? So that is something that we do. I don't want to say anything bad about a company or anything like that, but you want to be eating real food is what I'm trying to say, and not say anything bad about anyone.
Totally. I mean, I was a vegan for 18 years and I didn't eat nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying one way is better or another, but there is a way to do a completely plant-based diet without eating the foods manufactured to be like animal foods. Do you know what I mean? Because, you know, the truth is, and we're not naming names, but like those plant burgers, for example, they are not healthier, like better for your body. They are just meat-free, if that makes sense. And so if you're vegan and it's not really a choice about what is better for me, then yeah, that makes sense. But if you're looking for something that is truly more beneficial to your body and mind, the plant burger you have a chicken burger, have a turkey burger, have a, fish, whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? That's my personal opinion, but we're not being mean to the plant burgers.
Absolutely. With that thought, have a great week, everyone. Happy Monday. And keep supporting us, and we're coming up with these programs. Yes?
Yeah, and I just wanted to say really quickly, if anybody is on Instagram, I am the Cognition Dietitian on Instagram. And I just say that because just about every day I post something along these lines and recipes. So if you're interested, there I am.
Absolutely. They're very beautiful. I must say that. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.